Hi, hello, welcome back. It's me, obviously. so yesterday I had a nice coffee. Today I had whatever this energy drink is supposed to be. And I'm still yachty. Excuse me. I napped yesterday. I slept in today. I've been allowing myself the opportunity to just like sleep. And I'm loving it. I feel like I should have been doing it all along. I don't know why I don't. But anyway. So Bixby told me to go live today twice. Because I was gonna go live and then I was like, really? And then Bixby was like, yeah. And then I turned on my laptop and I went to YouTube and I was like, really? And Bixby said, yeah. I'm using the Poe Tarot. And then I pulled the Dolly Tarot too. Because I guess Dolly's an artist and Poe is a verbal artist, right? Paints pictures with words, quote the raven nevermore. Quote the raven sometimes. Quote the raven maybe someday. Quote the raven, try asking again later. I did notice that. Excuse me. I guess I could have grabbed the Pro Tarot. We have the ravens on the back. Just like the Ravenous and Dracon had ravens on the back. I was like, oh, I did just see those. I'm still like pulling cards out. Four of Cups and the Hanged Man. Interesting. Justice and the Hanged Man. Excuse me, I know, Amiani. El Colgado and Justicia. Now, Justice came out in this last time I used it. Justice was actually at the cut in the Poe Tarot, and it talked about when a wrong is addressed or something like that. I didn't read the whole thing, but it was there. And it's almost like she had there was like an open mouth and then a person with what looked like one of those swinging blades from like one of those movies where you have to walk through, you have to run down a corridor and they're like the swinging blades that are there. It looked like one of those. Okay, we got these shuffled up. I was going to do Venus. I don't follow astrology close enough to like know exact dates of pretty much anything anymore. But Venus has apparently now transited into Pisces. I knew it would happen during Pisces season at some point. And Mercury has left Pisces to go into Aries. But it's still in my 12th house because my 12th house is massive. It's going to be in my 12th house until it gets into Taurus. And even a little bit after the end. Okay, so let's see what's up today. What are we doing? General messages, I guess, for the collective. I feel like it's been 2 fairly quiet days in this not that quiet Pisces season. 2 relatively quiet days. Nothing new, at least, has come up. All right. We'll just keep shuffling until something comes out. Or do we need structure? Bixby is my friend lately. I kind of miss Google Assistant because Bixby half listens, but it's fine. And literally all I have to do is turn on. You know what? We're going to do it together. We are going to turn on the Google Assistant because Bixby doesn't control the lights. Hello? I don't need emails. Thank you. What's the weather tomorrow? Psych. Hey, Google, flip a coin. You're not listening. Why don't you listen to me? Goodness. Do I have to go into my settings? Go into the settings. Turn on Hey Google. No permissions required. You don't need permission, so Hey Google. Why is it not working? Why don't you working? What? FDA? What? There's a shocker. Flip a coin.
It's heads.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. Hey Google. Hey Google. I don't know how to turn it on. I guess I'm not using Google because everything on the old phone just works. You know what I mean? Like I set it up and then it would do whatever. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Turn on Hey Google, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Not now. Cool. Oh my gosh, I just had to turn it on. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I could do it this side, that side. I feel like that's a bit much for the Dolly Tarot. Today is Google's choice. So I already have this. I don't have any of my sticky notes. I don't know what I'm doing today. Hey Google, roll a d20.
You rolled 5.
5. Google's gonna pick cards and we're gonna go through the deck. 20 cards at a time. 4, 5. Our first card is the 3 of Quills. But the wind within my heart refused, even thus, to be filled. I longed for the love which had before filled it to overflowing. Oof. I'm assuming those are swords. Hey Google, roll the d20.
You got 19.
19. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's the 5 of Candles. We tremble with the violence of the conflict within us, of the definite with the indefinite, of the substance with the shadow. But if the contest have proceeded thus far, it is the shadow which prevails. We struggle in vain. Well, this is heavy. A void within a heart refusing to be filled, trembling with the violence of internal conflict. Goodness. Hey Google, roll a d20. Please.
You rolled 16.
Ooh, we rolling high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have the Knight of Wells. As a thing of art, nothing could ever be. Sorry, I totally inserted a word. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself, but it could have been neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance, which had so suddenly and so vehemently moved me. She's giving Kelpie. Did I show you the other card? I'm pretty sure I did. Hey Google, roll a d20, please.
It's 11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So far that's been what? Hierophant, the Sun, Justice. And no, Hierophant, the Sun, the Tower, and Justice. Now we have the Two of Paws. I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity. I think Paws are Pentacles. We got all four suits. 3 of Quills, 5 of Candles, Knight of Wells, 2 of Paws. Hey Google, roll a d20.
You rolled 12.
And now we have the Hangman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is the 10 of Paws. Okay. It is a happiness to wonder. It is a happiness to dream. It's interesting how this card looks in comparison to this one. I feel like things are turning around, which is excellent. Hey Google, roll a d20.
You rolled 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the 8 of Quills. Arousing from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. See, that's the thing that was in the Justice card. It reminds me of the swinging blades from, Indiana Jones. Or that one episode of Doctor Who with the tree lady who sacrificed herself, I think. Who went crispy. Hey Google, roll a d20.
It's 9.
9. Every number was different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were only 8 cards left. So the 9th card is, we'll call it a card of the beyond. It'd be the title card if this deck has a title card. I don't think it does, so I'm going to say it's the title card. I do have these that are slightly bigger than the cards. So this is card number 9. It's a blank. Now, what do we do with this? I don't know. 3 of Quills, 5 of Candles, Knight of Wells, 2 of Paws. 10 of Paws, 8 of Quills. So altogether, we have 11 quills, 5 candles, 1 well, and 12 paws. Assuming the knight is just like 1 instead of 12. And then we have this blank card. I don't know what I'm doing today. Haven't known what I've been doing lately. We'll see. The 3 of Quills. I'll read these again. I'll just read the excerpts. But the void within my heart refused, even thus, to be filled. I longed for the love which had before filled it to overflowing. We tremble with the violence of the conflict within us, of the definite with the indefinite, of the substance with the shadow. But if the contest have proceeded thus far, it is the shadow which prevails. We struggle in vain. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself, but it could have been neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance which had so suddenly and so vehemently moved me. I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity. It is a happiness to wonder, it is a happiness to dream. Arousing from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. Ooh, this. It could have been neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance. This is a little rough. I feel like there have been some of these like rough energies interspersed as I've been like, new tone, new me. I mean, like the struggle is definitely apparent on the first two cards. The next two cards feel like they bring in some kind of escape through this painting, and it's not how well the painting is done, and it's not the beauty of the person within the painting that moves so deeply, whoever this is. And then in the second set of cards, we get this energy that's like a dream. So, like, this could easily read as like escapism. It is a happiness to wonder, it is a happiness to dream in this Ten of Paws, but both wondering and dream almost implies that the thing isn't as concrete as a Ten of Paws. If the paws are the pentacles, and I'm pretty sure they are, would make it like seem, right? But I guess we are in Pisces season. Neptune doesn't stop being like as much as I talk about Neptune in the way that I talk about Neptune, it can still be like illusions and fantasies, delusions. And this is very illusory. Excuse me. And Venus is exalted in Pisces. So mid oof, not big oof. Let's get 3 of these. I'm gonna get one dolly for every pair of Edgar Poe tarot cards. So I feel like, for something to be an escape or to experience a world that could be and a life that could be is to be blessed in a way to see, envision, or even loosely experience a life that is probably better than one's own. But it isn't necessarily to get like lost in the fantasy or to become consumed by it. Mars is going to be, is that the King of Cups? It is the King of Cups. Mars is going to be moving into Pisces soon, which is the planet of action. Taking action on those things to make it a reality so that it won't just be a dream. Don't let your dreams just be dreams, right? Mars is the do it. Just do it. All right. So I'm going to cut, pull a card. Cut, pull a card. Ooh, 2 cards. Cut, pull a card. Bottom of the deck is the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of swords. Which is oof territory. Oof territory. 2, 4, 6, 8 of pentacles. 2, 4, 6, 8 of pennies is coming under the 3 of quills and the 5 of candles. Excuse me. Hey, Kirsty. How are you doing today? Hot down this fine evening. I guess what's interesting is we have this barely covered lady in a more, this feels like this would be like a love long lost. Because like this barely covered lady feels like our person of interest. And then there's this photo up here, but then there's this imaginary person down here. Imaginary compared to, you know, her. Oh, I gotta blow my nose. Just got a tickle in my nose. Ooh, hey Holly, how you doing? Now, fuerza. Under the Knight of Wells and the 2 of Paws, we have strength and the 3, 7. Strength and the 7 of Wands. Which is interesting because we just saw the 7 of Wands as the dark horse. And then under the 10 of Paws and the 8 of Quills, we have the Chariot, which is number 7. One of these was actually 7, wasn't it? 5, 16, 5, 19, 16, 11, 12, 7, 9. So the 8 of Quills was the Chariot, I'm pretty sure. One, 2, 3 hands. 4, sorry. I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. I was like, let me not pull that deck because for so like often lately, I've been like, oh, I saw that deck when I was looking for the other ones, and I started to pull it, so I just pulled it. So under our first pair, the 3 of Quills and the 5 of Candles. we have the Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles can be a card of forming habits. And I say that because it's the card of the work that we put into mastering something. But Eight of Pentacles type work is very like practiced, it's very patterned, it's very habitual. So that's why it can be a card of habits. That's what I said, right? Oh. That ice flew into my mouth with a force. The Rare Gazelle did just talk about voids, specifically voids in terms of relationship. Was that her last collective? I think it was her last live. I actually caught some of it this time. I think I caught most of it. I almost wonder this could be, I feel like this kind of came up maybe a few weeks ago. The void within my heart refused even thus to be filled. I long for the love which had before filled it to overflowing. So the love that someone received before, it's almost like even to receive that same love now would be to leave the heart void. Now, this internal conflict, and especially like another way to read this would be like someone who's like done the work because the Eight of Pentacles is here. And because they've done the work, they no longer find joy or satisfaction or love. Excuse me, or they no longer feel love like they did before. And maybe it's because the voids within them that were for them to fill, they have filled. And so it takes a little bit more than someone else, just like maybe like it takes more than someone else validating our person of interest, because now they self-validate. So they don't need external validation anymore. And before, maybe external validation was like heavy on love to them. And so this internal conflict can be one of those like it almost feels like a dissatisfaction with life. Because like let's say that easy example would be like alcohol, right? So let's say that there's someone who used to like drink a lot because of reasons. And after they did the healing and stuff, it's like they don't need to drink anymore. Like if they want to drink, that's one thing, but they don't need to anymore because they're not drinking to mask whatever the problem that they worked through is. But it's almost like drinking was so much of what they did that now that they aren't drinking as much, or now that they don't need to drink, there's nothing to substitute for that lost behavior. And so that almost brings a desolation of its own, or it creates another void. Like the filling of one void creates another because of whatever was used to like manage that first void. Yeah, that's how we're going to read this. So the next pair of cards, the Knight of Wells and the Two of Paws. It's the painting itself that's admirable. And it's the painting itself that moves whoever me is. It's not the execution of the work or the beauty of the countenance, it's the painting itself. It's almost like, so that I could read in a way of like, the fact that someone had set about capturing a certain type of moment in and of itself is moving. So it's not like the subject necessarily that's being captured, and it's not executed it, how well executed it is. It's just like the fact that someone saw this as something worthy of being captured in and of itself is moving. And then I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity. This could be almost like, almost feels like discovering something, or it could be like resonating deeply with something on the other side. But because of these long intervals of horrible sanity, maybe it's like it's not something that's necessarily like super present, or it's not something that's always there, right? So let's say that you happen upon a person in real life that, but your schedules don't align, so you only get to see each other like once every few months. And then it's almost like the thing could be so good that you end up living your life in between those moments, just waiting for the next moment. Right. It's kind of like, working for the weekend. You suffer through the week just waiting for the weekend. And as soon as the next work week starts, it's the same thing. So there are lots of those in between moments that become sort of that become almost a torture of their own, because there is seemingly nothing of value to get from them. Now, strength could be that, like, keeping it together until, but then I don't know, that's almost very like, it almost reads or feels a little similar to like going from drink to drink, or like waiting until you get the next hit of whatever. But now instead of it being a hit of this, it's a hit of something else, and like dreading the moments in between. Even if it is like healthier. Now, I don't know, maybe this is one of those parting is such sweet sorrow. When I am not in your presence, I ache and yearn so horribly. Types of things, I don't know. Um, and like strength is like what it takes to get from point to point. But the Seven of Wands, excuse me, all of these hands are like reaching, but none of them are touching this wand. There we go. Any other ones? This blue character is interesting to me. And there are a whole bunch of people here. This is an 11 strength in this deck, instead of it being 8. Wait, no, it was here. Right. It was 5, 16, 19, 11, 12, and then 7, and then 9. This is interesting. Did y'all hear that? That's fine. This is interesting though, because it's almost like there's something that's missing. Like the admiration and the appreciation and the movement is there, but with the disregard for the execution and the countenance, it's almost like it's not seeing the thing for all that it is. It's almost like rose tinting in a way. And now I almost wonder if this Seven of Wands is like a don't touch type of energy. Almost like how, like, if you're freezing cold and the fire warms you, like you would appreciate the warmth of the fire without setting yourself ablaze. You know what I mean? Almost. Or maybe it's just rose tinting. And it's like consuming. I don't know what this is or who it's for. Then we have the Ten of Paws and the Eight of Quills. It is a happiness to wonder. It is a happiness to dream. Arising from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. I feel like this definitely plays into that, like not necessarily seeing something for what it is. This also makes me think of, I don't see it often. So it makes me think of this one show. There was this one guy who was cursed with handsomeness. He was so handsome that all of the ladies wanted him. And so they would be like, "Oh, we like you, we like you, we love you, whatever." And he was like, "Why?" And nobody would ever have an answer. And he was like, I know what it looks like in order for me to go, "Oh, my life is so hard because I'm so handsome that women just throw themselves at me." So he was like, that's why I never say anything. And he was working hard at work and he got an opportunity to do something, but it was because of his looks. It wasn't because of his merit or his talent. And then someone who saw behind his handsome face, like they crossed paths, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. I feel seen." But that's the synergy here. It's like it builds up on the fantasy and it misses all of the substance. It rose tints and misses red flags. The red flags is the Eight of Quills. Now the Chariot is here, which is actually Sagittarius in the Dali Tarot, which is interesting. I feel like I see that. Like just like an arrow, the Chariot continues forward. There's something that moves forward. No, I almost wonder, like reading all the way through this, maybe like this, maybe something like this like happened in the past where there was something that was very shiny or very pretty or very alluring, not because of who it was or what it was doing, what it was about, the character or the countenance of the person, but it's almost like because of what they represented in someone's life. It was more what they represented and less about who they were as an actual person, or like with the job. It was more about what the job represented more so than like the type of work, the actual work, or whether or not it was something that somebody like wanted to do. Like with the job, it would be easy like if someone became a lawyer because everyone in their family was a lawyer and that's what was expected of them, even though they get no fulfillment or satisfaction or anything out of it. Or it's someone who does something for like prestige. But there's again, like there's no fulfillment from it. Maybe in the beginning, there might be some kind of like, of course there's the sense of accomplishment, there's a sense of achievement, there is the like I'm making whoever proud, but at the end of the day, like it's your life. And you're the one that has to clock in, clock out, like do that every day. And if it doesn't bring you any joy or fulfillment, then it's like it's negligible what it does for the sake of whatever. But it's almost like there's something internally within the person that's changed for this to not even be fulfilling anymore. And so in turn, it almost becomes something like an obsession to try to pull out of something a feeling or a sensation that you're like that we won't get out of it. And then that goes back to the Eight of Pentacles being about habits, or it's that habitual thing. Like, oh, well, I spent all this time, like, I might as well keep going, even if it doesn't, whatever, or even if it just feels like work, then, like, I'm here, I'm in it, I might as well stay in it. I almost wonder if that would be a kind of like not great Venus. But Saturn is also in Pisces, and Saturn is going to be in Pisces for the entirety of Venus's duration in Pisces, I'm pretty sure. And I guess that is one aspect of it. We may find out that we don't actually love the thing that we've been dreaming of. And maybe because Venus is exalted in Pisces, I don't know if it's going to be potentially one of those times where like our expectations are like heightened and they're like consistently failed. And then again, because Venus is exalted in Pisces, it's almost like she loses herself. She becomes intoxicated on love or whatever. And when it's not met, she has that, wait a minute, I'm mother in Venus. Hello. Obviously something here is not right. And then she goes into Aries and she's like, it's time to start all over. It's time to get it together. And then she's in Pisces. Then she's in Taurus, And maybe that's where she starts like building or something. I don't know. Anyway. Potentially, maybe, maybe not. But yes, it's almost like it's trying to juice a rock. And maybe it's because there was love that was felt there before, or maybe it's because was a desire for something at some point in the past. Maybe because it was a dream, right? because there was this like long lost energy. Maybe she's like, oh, well, ever since I was young, this is something I've always dreamed of, but it's not what I thought it would be. But when you're that young, you wouldn't really necessarily have a conception of like the substance or the character or the day to day of something. It is a little bit more of the superficial unless you're in it. But I feel like if someone were actually in it, they would know that it wasn't something that they wanted. The Nine of Swords and the Three of Wands. There's a butterfly on this Three of Wands. I don't know if this is a missed opportunity. Maybe not. Maybe it's a question for you. Is the ship sailing towards or away from butterfly guy? Because as I'm reading it or as I'm seeing it, it's like the ship is sailing away. This person is on the shores, but then there's this mermaid here. The mermaid to me is reading like another way of going about doing something, but it's not the way that someone expected, and it's not necessarily a way that someone could trust. Because if you're going to get on a boat, at the very least, you know about sirens. And you're like, well, is this mermaid trying to help me, or is this siren trying to lure me into the water so she can drown me? Yeah, this feels like the allure of memory. But as humans, it's like it's a lot easier to do that than it is to imagine that what we want we haven't already experienced. It's almost like how easy it is if you were to hear about something, like how easy it is to try to like go through the past and try to make fit something from the past on what it is that we're hearing, because we know our past as much as we know it. And it's like, well, this is the closest to that, or maybe this or that. Like maybe this could have worked out if blah, 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 whatever. And so we go back to try to force something to fit that we want now. And maybe if we do, we realize that, again, there's some love that caused a heart to be full now that won't even be a drop in the void. Or it caused the heart to be filled before that won't even be a drop in the void now. And we can try to convince ourselves that we're happy, or we can try to ignore everything that would try to wake us from this dream. But I don't know. I guess the chariot is here. So maybe that's us trying to move in a way, trying to squeeze orange juice from a boulder, or that's the ship sailing away. But again, like, I guess you would have to take it as it resonates for you. Because it reads like to me, this mermaid could be trusted to get you across the seas. And it's almost like butterfly and moth energy. So there's been like the light butterfly transformation and the dark or shadow moth transformation. Again, it's almost like it's a work it's almost too complete. to settle for anything that is unaligned to it. It's like when you go on a diet or something and you stick so closely to your meal plan. And it's like when you go back to have like a cheat meal or you go back to eat something that you used to love eating, but you don't even like it anymore. And it's like, wow. It makes me think of like when I get remotely or moderately healthy. And then I try to like have a cheat day or I try to be naughty. And then I'm like, this isn't even good. Like, I don't even like this. I betrayed myself. Come on, taste buds, just make it taste like it used to before we knew better. And the body's like, no, because it's like it's not even good. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. If you don't like the taste, just let it go. And it's like, yeah, I'm a Pisces. I used to love the taste. Like, let me tap in my brain. Let me recall what this used to taste like as I'm eating it. And maybe my taste buds will pick up on that memory and it'll be like it used to be. It hardly ever is. But anyway, there is something about this energy that's present at the bedside. Oh, they're also blue. Because I was like, there's something about this blue person. Like, there are all these hands reaching for these other wands, and it's almost like this blue person is trying to hold this wand up, like, here, like, this is the one you should be reaching for. Almost. And then, like, look at how it comes in on A Nightmare Before Christmas, whatever. Those are some long legs. But anyway. The Six of Pentacles is behind this Three of Wands. And we see at the top of the card a blue person, blue shadowy figure with all six pentacles. Like, that's where the pentacles rain from, I guess. So yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe this is a time where something, because again, like, we do have our seventh card, which is this blank one, which is a card that has not been illustrated yet. The suit hasn't been assigned, its number hasn't been assigned, the artwork, the excerpt, the message, it's not yet assigned. It was the one just beyond, because there were 8 cards left, but Google gave me a 9. So it's like just beyond everything that's already written or everything that we already know or all that we know to be, would believe to be, regardless of the fact of whether we know every single card or not, what we know to be possible. It's just outside of that. And it may be this. So maybe this is like, set the nostalgia down, stop trying to force something to fit, and maybe like look at the painting and the execution and the countenance as a whole. Because if you've done butterfly and like you've butterflied and mocked, like you are whole to a degree that maybe you haven't been before. And again, because of what's immediately available or because of what you recall or remember, maybe you try to go through your options that way to see what's the best fit. But I don't know. Blue person is holding this one up like it's this one, it's this wand. You don't have to fight for one of those other sevens. Not that they're like fighting for them, because they're kind of sort of all reaching for a different one. And then we also have like this blue dog, which is funny because I was seeing statues on the way home. You know the lion statues that folks have in their yard sometimes. I noticed a few of them on the way home. Cool. Guess we'll get final cards. And maybe that's just the dangers of Neptune are still present. As much as Patrick loves to be on here, like, Neptune is about more than just illusions and fantasies and tricks and deceit. But it can also be those things. I mean, more so when it doesn't happen. Sometimes we realize that something was too good to be true because I paid the $99.99 and I never got my thing in the mail. It was a scam. But when it happens, like, what? That was real life? Discernment, intuition. It'll tell you if it's legit or not. It can tell you if it's legit or not. We all have intuition. We all have discernment to a certain degree at the very least, and it's something that we can grow and develop. I think sometimes our intuition and discernment competes with other things, and that's what can make it a little bit more challenging or difficult to identify or to accurately follow. Sometimes our I hope, I wish this happens kicks in, and then we're like, oh, that's for me because I want it. Sometimes it's ooh, that's not for me because this or that or another thing. What? The Eight of Paws is at the cut. I really like, and the Six of Wells. But this, because it's like a contract looking thing, this Eight of Paws, and it says the Raven. It really caught my attention. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearby napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." The true genius shudders at incompleteness, imperfection, and usually prefers silence to saying the something which is not everything that should be said. Ooh. Quoth the Raven, "Maybe someday." Magic conch, am I ever gonna get married? Can I have something to eat? No. Can I have something to eat? No. Try asking again later. It's that episode of SpongeBob. I'm sorry. But the magic conch did tell them to wait at one point. And they sat there and they waited. I think Squid was like, I am not about to just sit here and wait. Anyway. Nothing. All right. Let me put this back in the box. It's too big to put with the actual cards, but I will put it away. You frightened her away. That's what Harry said to the folks when Satine started coughing up blood. Cool, that was a decent shuffle. All right, Edgar Allan Poe, Tarot, final card, please. Oof. It's about to get real crazy in these Piscean streets. I guess. But there will be one thing that stands above, and that's also kind of the energy of the Seven of Wands, like the one thing that stands above all others. But it's to see it in its entirety and to not be so enraptured by the lack of something or by what something wasn't. Because again, it wasn't the countenance or the execution of the work that moved the person who looked at the painting. So it's not like, if it's not the subject of the painting or the execution of the brushstrokes, what is it? It's something that plays on what the person is wanting to see or feel or whatever. Cool. 2 cards. We got the 6 of Candles. The bottom of the deck is the 8 of Quills. The one we just saw. I'll read it again. Arousing from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. 6 of Candles and the World. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as once I was. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as once I was. And then is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream. The Raven. EAR. So we saw a page from the Raven. Now we see the whole book under the skull, under the candle, under a raven with Edgar Allan Poe's head on it, maybe. That's scary. And then we have the 6 of Candles. I don't know. This deck gets like, what's real life? What's a dream? Is this real life? It could be. Or is it a fantasy? Maybe that's the question now. Now that Venus is going to enter Pisces. Is this real life? Or is this a fantasy? What if I told you it were both? It's both. I don't know. Oh, that's a 3 and a 6. 21 is a 3. 6 is a 6. We got 3, 6, 8. I think I almost did 3, 6, 8. I feel like I saw 368 somewhere. It was a few days ago. And I was going to do a 3, 6, 8. And like, what can we do to bump the 8 up to a 9 or something like that? But I didn't end up doing it, obviously. I love how I say like obviously about things that may not necessarily be obvious. Well, because, I know what goes on in my mind. So to me, it's obvious because that's a conversation that happened within my head. But for you outside of my head who are not necessarily privy to the same things, it may not necessarily be as obvious. Or if you're like, well, I didn't see that video pop up, then that would be more obvious. So anyway, cool. I need to start putting these away at some point. Maybe I need like another box. I need a recently used box. Okay. Dolly Tarot. Love it. We have El Mundo, not the World, coming out again. The World in the 5 of Wands. 2, 4, 5. We just saw the World in the 6 of Wands. Here's the World in the 5. Bottom of the deck is El Emperador, the Emperor. The Emperor at the bottom of the deck. Emperor looked at this 5 of Wands and said, this is no competition. This is an interesting energy. The world is Taurus. The Emperor is Jupiter. Jupiter is actually in Taurus right now. Jupiter in Taurus, according to the Dali Tarot, is the Emperor in the world. What's interesting about this is it's almost like there are certain things that are going to be like. Also, it's interesting that this is 4 eyes instead of an IV. It's giving me Purdue energy. It's giving me the clock tower. Didn't the bell like fall? I think there was a video of the bell falling in the clock tower, or was it the clock face that fell? It was one of those. Purdue bell tower. I'll put falling fall video. It might have been the clock face. Yeah, it was the clock face. So they were. It looks like they were replacing it. Oh, come on. Yeah. What's interesting though is we did just have Surge and Disrupted Time. Sunder. We had Sunder and Disrupted Time. But the Emperor, this is like someone who's like above something. This is giving me Purdue Bell Tower because so one of Purdue's rivals is Indiana University, which is IU. And the story is that if they put an IV on the clock tower, it would look too similar to IU, and they didn't want to do that. So that's why they put I instead of IV. And so it's giving me that energy. So maybe this Emperor has been a little, not petty, but in time. I have never seen that movie. But we got time again. It's just this like whatever this competition or whatever this conflict, we did just see the 5 of Candles as internal conflict. It's like the Emperor sits outside of that. Like the Emperor doesn't need to compete. The Emperor doesn't need to engage. The Emperor doesn't like the Emperor is emperoring. You know what I mean? This is what a competition, according to the SKT. It's a competition where someone's competing to be the new crown prince, but this person's an entire emperor. Like they don't need to compete in the same ways. The taunting not the two baddies. We had the taunting kobold that came out in Tiamat's Fanatics at the bottom of the deck. They both have haste. Wow. Haste is when like things just show up. Things just show up and like as soon as you play the card, it can attack, basically. Usually when you play a creature, they have to wait a turn. Right? But these are the sprinters, these are the marathon runners, these are the go-getters, the heavy hitters, the never stop, don't quitters. They show up and they just start attacking folks. They show up and they start wailing on folks. All right, let's see. Where's Thunder? Just for funsies. I kind of want to look around the displacer kitten. So now instead of Gale, we have Sunder with the Candlekeep Sage. The flow of time was disrupted like a flooding river. It rose from its banks. Talaria was drowned in an instant that stretched toward infinity. You love the smell of dusty tomes, the flicker of candles during late night reading, and the old texts that bring to life the scholars who have come before. So this, it feels like these would have been written about the time of Talaria, but there's something here. And then Scanos Dragonheart is the other card that came out that doesn't have any flavor text at all. But there's something here. It's almost like while this is happening, while this is going on, this person is like, again, just like doing his own thing. There's something about knowledge and information here. And how oftentimes knowledge and information can be used to try to like subjugate someone else, or to at the very least try to like elevate oneself over others because they're more educated or more studied or whatever. Excuse me, but it almost feels like it's something that invites folly. Did the word folly come out today? I don't think I read it on the Edgar Allan Poe cards. It feels like it invites folly. Like it invites those who think that they know it all to throw their hat in the ring in some way. And then it makes a fool of them. El Mundo. I would look before and after the Anima Mundi, but I don't know which part of the archetypes it got separated into, so it's fine. There's also a 432 here. See we also did have like every element. The first 4 cards that came out were different elements or different suits. So there's some multi-aspected energy there. Cool. I guess that's it. I don't need to make this any longer than it needs to be. Than it needs to be. And it's already been over an hour. So that's this, I guess. If it resonates, I hope you're taking it when it resonates, if it resonates, however it resonates for you. If part of it resonates, but I didn't tell, there's death. La muerte. We saw this card recently. Because I remember that like person falling into this other realm. It's interesting how death is like so bright. That was the world card in the Poe Tarot. Oh, snap. No, I'm seeing this as something completely different. That was the world card in the Poe Tarot that had it was the skull and then the candle and then the raven with the back of Edgar Allan Poe's head on it, I guess. But it's interesting that this death card isn't like darker. Like it's in the daytime. This feels like some floating skull that comes through a dimensional tear. But We also had this thing up here in the world card. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what this was or why, but maybe it's just like, be mindful of that as we, especially before, as Venus enters Pisces ahead of Mars. Because, of course, I believe that it'll be possible to make our dreams a reality in this time, but to not be distracted by what we think or believe the manifestation of those dreams would be, or at the very least to like not exhaust ourselves in arenas that won't provide whatever it is that we're looking for. Be wary of the past in these coming days. Oh, look, there's Displacer Kitten. I kind of want to just like open up another pack of cards. This reading is over. This reading is officially over, but I am going to grab, I think I have another booster pack up there. I'm going to grab it because I want to. So give me a second. Hold on, but let me timestamp this. I'll say 117. 11700. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope you a clarity of vision and depth of taste. Okay, this one isn't open. And by depth of taste, I hope that's again I hope you an ability to see what it is that you're looking at as it is, rather than what you would hope for it to be or whatever. So, I don't know how many of these I have left. I'm running out. Not me about to start buying Magic the Gathering booster packs just so I can open them up on live. But it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Uno momento, por favor. I remember when somebody sent me that. I was like, ooh. Not the clock tower. It said, and then bang, crash, lightning flashed. Anyway, that's the big day claim. I made my claim. The big day came. I made my claim. Oh, don't take away the baby. They shrieked and screeched, but I did. And I hit her where she'll never be reached. Until she was. Count life, enter tournaments, and more. Oh, we're going to start here today. This is a token, right? Oh, the goat. We got a goat. A token creature. What do we need a goat for? Not this goat stealing somebody's boob. Is this devil energy right now? This is interesting. If that's devil energy, that's interesting. Because it's almost like at most, devil energy is capable of minor inconvenience. Right? Like the world isn't going to end because somebody's missing a boob. But it's almost like if you're already having a rough day, that could be the thing that like breaks the camel's back. Or this could be the thing that starts us having a rough day. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I woke up today and the goat stole my boot and it ran off and I don't know where it is. Today's going to be a horrible day. Or I woke up and this happened and that happened and this other thing happened and then the goat stole my boot. Like I can't take it. No, that's like if that's what it is, it's what it is, right? Oh, and it broke the rope. See, there's like a little rope, probably to keep it in the yard, but I don't know if it ate through the rope first and then took the boot. What's the significance of a goat with a boot? Oh, snap. Hold up. This is almost going back to the last reading and how Raphael or whoever that one girl was, where it's like at first it felt like she was an enemy, but after Gail jumped through time, she became a friend. Like we had a certain conception about it in the past, but now because it's giving me Talaria in the background. It's because of these spires with the blue roofs. It's like again, it's white buildings with blue roofs. This is a goat that steals a boot to be chased. This like the whoever this boot belongs to, they're supposed to chase the goat out of Talaria before the sundering happens. So they're not even there. We also saw that was that in Lulu the Holophant? It might have been. Excuse me. So yeah, that's when we think that something is like inconvenience or whatever, but that's our path. That's us being divinely guided by what we think of as an inconvenience. No, it was the navigation orb. It wasn't Lulu. Safana was the name of the lady. The lady. Like even when she came out, I was like, I don't know whose side she's on. Yeah, see. So that's one way, this magical orb of whatever. But another way is for a goat to like literally steal your boot and then run out of town. And then you can see the warped towers in Sunder. So yeah, goats trying to get you out of Dodge. Cool. But well, do we always see it that way? Not necessarily. Seeing it that way is a talent, a gift, a skill, an ability. It requires a certain nonchalance or a certain amount of time doing well, maybe it's for a reason. Wow, like now I have to take the long way instead of the short way. And then like you find out, hey, well, maybe there's a reason why you got your ticket for the long way round. Because just, be grateful that you weren't there. So we got the goat. What's next? We have Miracle's Edict. Oh, snap. See, this is the reason why I was like, I'm going to turn on my Google. Because for some reason, Bixby doesn't know how to roll dice anymore. But this is why I was like, hey, Bixby, or hey, Google, roll a d20. Because the next card, it's a holographic. But you see, roll a d20. Different things can happen. What's an edict? I don't know. Oh, look, we got like this shadowy poison energy after the goat. Oh, there you go. Now you can see it. Oh, snap. So it's almost like you want to roll low on this one. If you roll low, only an opponent has to sacrifice a creature. If you roll mid to high, no, if you roll in the middle, each opponent has to sacrifice. Oh, either way, it's only opponents. I read this as like every player. I read it wrong. All right. Hey, Google, roll a d20. Please. Are you not speaking to me anymore? Google, why are you speaking? Hey, Google, roll a d20, please. Roll a d20. It just rolled a 1 and not Google with the crit fail, but I'm only taking it if Google talks out loud. I don't know why Google speaks sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Hey Google, roll a d20, please. Why are you not speaking? Why can I not hear you? Tell me a joke. What's a pig's favorite karate move? A pork chop. Why aren't you? Why doesn't Google Assistant speak? You know what? Fine. You don't want to roll d20s. I got this, baby. We're just going to do this the old fashioned way. Hey, Bixby, roll the d20.
I don't have that, but I can roll a 6-sided dice. Just say, "Hi Bixby, roll the dice."
Hi, Bixby. How do I make Google Assistant talk? Let me stop. Just kidding. Bixby's like, wow, well, you don't roll d20s and Google does. Like, what am I supposed to do? Do this the old-fashioned way? Ugh. See, but these are metal dice. I don't want to F up my table. I do have this box right here. Maybe I'll go into like the settings. Let's try this one more time. Google was doing so well. What?
Keep using it. Just stop here.
I turned the volume all the way down. That's why I couldn't hear Google, apparently.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant.
Here are the voices you can
pick for your Google Assistant.
If
you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just stop here.
That voice is green.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant. If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just stop here.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant. If you like this voice.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant.
Ooh.
If you like this voice and want me to keep using it, just stop here.
That one's pink.
Here are the voices you can pick for your Google Assistant.
I'm going green.
If you like this voice and want me to keep you.
I'm going green. I don't know. Okay. All right. Now let's try this again. Hey, Google, roll a d20. Roll a d20, please.
You rolled 9.
9. Wow. All of the numbers were below 10, so it literally didn't matter. So choose an opponent. That player sacrifices a creature. Oh. Hey, Google, define edict.
According to Wikipedia, an edict is a decree or announcement of a law, often associated with monarchism, but it can be under any official authority.
So it's a decree or announcement of a law. Who's Merkel to decree that someone else has to sacrifice? This is interesting. Oh, well, you know what's also interesting about this? Like, it's like the goat is such a nuisance. This goat is such a nuance. I feel like it's a token creature, but if it were an actual like creature, I don't know if token creatures count as creatures. Yeah, it's still a creature, right? I feel like this goat is such a nuisance that like someone would choose that. Anybody would choose that. Now, this goat has 0 power. So if Google would have rolled a 20, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So that would be the only way to demand like which one gets sacrificed. But it's interesting that the goat would be sacrificed. I'm assuming the goat would be sacrificed because it's such a headache and such an annoyance. But again, like that's the goat that gets us out of Talaria before the Sundering. that goat is actually a blessing. And it's interesting that it comes in as an edict. I should have did this as a separate video. It's fine. It's interesting that it comes in as an edict because this is almost like if there were a hierophant that's like, hey, here is the new, hottest, latest way to manifest whatever. All you got to do is sacrifice one of your creatures. And then, but like this creature is so divinely like placed in the most annoying of ways, maybe sometimes, but it's so divinely placed. Like this goat is divine. Like it's the one thing that you wouldn't want to sacrifice, but it feels like if whoever Merkel is, if they came out with this edict, it would be the first one that we would say to go. Potentially. Because again, unless we know, like if you know, then you know. But if not, you just think that this goat is an annoyance. But meanwhile, the whole time the goat is trying to like get you to leave something or get you to follow it or go somewhere. Next, we have Morphic Field, which is swampland. I guess this is going to be all dark. We only got a little bit. I think Savannah was the only dark. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Savannah was the only dark one out of both of these. And when she came out, I was like, I don't know whose side she's on. Let me see real quick. I don't think there are any other dark. This is all dark. Oof. Well, I mean, I'm only like literally 3 cards in, but still. Yeah, out of both of these, Safana is the only one with that dark aspect. Cool. So Morphic Pond. This can be water or dark. I take it back. Morphic Pool enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. No one really knows how deep the waters go beneath Undercity, nor what amorphous horrors lurk within. This is hilarious because I just saw Undercity before I shuffled it, I guess. Because I was looking at the bottoms, and Undercity is one of the only cards that has something on the back of it. And it was like right behind whatever card was behind the card that I noticed at the bottom of the deck. So we're back in the Undercity, if y'all remember the Undercity from 2 D&D booster packs ago. When we first went looking for the Spire. No one really knows how deep the waters go beneath Undercity, nor what amorphous horrors lurk within. This can be either water or poison or dark. I call it dark, and then the basic is like light. So it doesn't have to be dark. It could be water. Now, what's interesting is usually like when you put land on, just like anything else, usually when you put it into play, you can't utilize it on the same turn. But if you have 2 or more opponents, you can. Now that 2 or more opponents, and this can be either or, what's that? I don't know. I was going to say it's like, because there's 2 or more opponents, and this could be either water or dark, it's almost like there's a receiver for both ends of the polarity of this card. But it's like in a loop, in a circuit. If a circuit is closed, you get power because current, the flow of electricity is what generates voltage, right? But as soon as you open it, when it can't move or when it can't complete that circuit, it loses its power. The power of electricity is in the motion or in the power of the current. And with no current, with no movement, there's no power. So it's like you have these 2 poles And then if you have two opponents, they both sit opposite the poles to like close that loop and to put it into immediate use rather than like charging it up. Now, because I'm talking about that, it's giving me like capacitors, but you would have to charge a capacitor before you like it can operate as a battery. Anyway. The next card is Miram, the Sentinel Worm. Ooh, look at this gold shiny. I don't know, the way this shiny is different than the other ones to me. You see that? Flying and Ward of 2. This is a legendary dragon spirit. What? Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. So this dragon spirit replicates any dragon that enters the battlefield under your control. Because of that, this is almost giving me like great dragon ancestor energy. Like all dragons are descended from this one, which is why it can like copy them, which is why I can like replicate them. Now it can't replicate legendary status. So if there's something that differentiates, I mean, there has to be, right? Not everything is legendary. That's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like if they have attained any kind of acclaim or ascended in any way, it would get the closest version of that. It can replicate the closest version of that to them. It's almost like there's this other show I was watching and they talked about the domain of E, I think, which is basically when you become superhuman, when you surpass human limitations or dragon limitations, apparently. It can't replicate that. So it's almost like going back to the Hierophant, not the Hierophant, the Hermit, and how the Hermit has a two-phase journey. And in Patrick's world, the Hermit has a two-phase journey. The first phase, it goes with the light of the Hierophant. And then at some point, it trades the Hierophant's light for its own light, for the spark of the divine that it's created in. So the dragon spirit can replicate everything that the Hierophant's light can illuminate, but anything that is like solely between an individual and the divine, those more divine territories, it can't replicate. Because that level of creation is in a domain that is above even this ancient, I'm assuming, dragon spirit. Now it's interesting because again, we have the divinity of this goat, which is a token creature here. And that goat helping whatever poor unfortunate person lost their boot, escape Talaria, is to get them on those paths highlighted or illuminated by the light of the divine. And once you're on one of those paths, nothing that is not of the divine can touch you. Because again, like it can't penetrate into those areas. If it could, then the Hermit would be, or the Hierophant would be able to take you through there. But it can't. Next, we have the Flaming Fist. We've already seen the Flaming Fist. This was Mazzy. When Mazzy came out of the Underdark, we saw this. You carry the security of Baldur's Gate on your shoulders and you welcome the weight of responsibility. This is a background. Whenever this creature attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn, which means it can attack twice. Now we have this legendary creature here, and the Miram, the Sentinel Worm. Miram is pretty tough. Like not many creatures I've seen have a base power and or toughness 6 or above. So we didn't roll, or Google didn't roll a nat 20. So Miriam doesn't have to be sacrificed, but if a nat 20 was rolled, Miriam would probably definitely be the one that's sacrificed. But I'm not surprised, because something about Miriam taps into that aspect of divinity. And that's what this edict is about, almost like getting rid of. But Miriam would be divine in a very like obvious way that's like capable of, like when the divine like really moves in your life, and when it's like one of those big ticket manifestations, or when it's one of those big ticket healing whatever items where you're like, oh my gosh, like that is the divine moving in my life. That's easier to see than like the inconveniences of like, or rejection, like, oh, like this didn't work out or that didn't work out. Rejection is God's protection. You be grateful that it didn't, because when you don't know what it's really like in there. And that was another thing earlier with that Night of Wells, like the lack of substance when it came to admiring the painting. Is like, you don't know, like you're not really seeing the painting. You're seeing whatever your mind or your heart wants you to see, but it is not this painting. If it's not the subject in the painting or the execution of the work, what are you moved by? You're moved because you want to be moved, and the painting is there. And now the painting holds all of your hopes and dreams. Anyway. But this goat, that's the one that's like, yeah, that can go. But sometimes it's those little everyday things that, like, you know. Anyway. And it came out right after Miriam. So we're going to assume that Miriam can double strike. Why wouldn't it be able to? It also has ward. I think if it has ward, then you have to pay mana. I don't know anything about MTG. MTG ward. That's why we have Google. Ward is a triggered ability. So you probably have to. Whenever a permanent with ward becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays an additional cost. Excuse me. Cool. Okay. Any spell or ability controlled by an opponent can be affected by ward. This includes aura spells, triggered abilities, and anything else that target a permanent with ward. Spells and abilities that don't target won't cause ward to trigger. So it has to be targeted. So because this has to be targeted, this is interesting. Because I'm going back to this edict. If this were anything lower than 20, it doesn't specify. It doesn't specify which creature has to be sacrificed. Now, if it's the only creature that is controlled, then like, yeah, but that's still not targeted. Now, when it says a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls, is that a target? I don't know. So would the ward protect Miriam from being sacrificed? But even like the thing with the edict too is that it forces the player to sacrifice their creatures. So that's another, like, I remember it was when I was reading for somebody a long time ago, and the tower came out and the witch's tarot, I'm pretty sure. And it gave me It was an energy that's like nothing divine can be stolen. Nothing divine can be taken. It can be forfeited, and sometimes it can be hidden, but it can't be taken. We can be convinced to forfeit something. And that's almost this, the being convinced, but it can't be stolen and it can't be taken. Now we have shadow heart, dark justiciar. I don't know what justiciar. I don't know what this is. So sacrifice another creature. Draw X cards where X is that creature's power. This is a human elf cleric. Oof, not a human elf cleric demanding sacrifice, not Shadowheart, the dark priest. See, I told y'all there's something shady with this Hierophant energy. Shar's will shall be done, as sure as night will fall. Who is Shar? That Shar's will must be done. Why is it so dark today? I mean, darkness is, in my world, there's a difference between like dark and shadow. Dark doesn't compete with the light. Dark is just as light is, but shadow is what happens when something obscures light. And I'm sure like there's another version of something that obscures darkness that isn't light, but I don't know what the word for that is. So sometimes I just call that shadow too. And that's like this, like that false Hierophant energy is that kind of light shadow to me. It obscures the dark, but it's not light. It can be confused for light, just like shadow can be confused for darkness. But they're like different. Dark justice. Oof. Oh, look. Facing off with the flaming fist. Now, the flaming fist is just a background, and it's the background for Miriam the Sentinel Worm. So I don't think Miss Shadowheart has a chance. But look at him. Facing off. Also, because this is someone who bears the weight of their responsibility gladly. It's not someone who can be easily convinced to sacrifice something. It sees its burden as responsibility, and it's one that doesn't shirk its responsibility. There's no load to lighten. Sacrifice what? I wish I had the ability to just like know what these cards are. Because I want to get before and after the sacrifice, but I don't want to know what the card is. Because I'm going to put it face down and then we'll look at it. Because there's a lot of sacrifice. So this is the deck of sacrifice, or this is the booster pack of sacrifice. When we first saw the Undercity and the Underdark, that was the booster pack of exile. It was like exile this creature, exile that creature. This one is like sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. I'll give it one more and a cut. Like that. I'm going to pull. Do I want the card from the bottom of the deck or the top of the deck? I'm going to actually do before and after. So I'm going to pull it from the top so I definitely don't see it. The card that comes before the sacrifice is going to represent what this shadowy energy is saying we have to sacrifice. The card below it is the truth of what we're sacrificing. So we have the circle, the wind, and the rattle as our first three cards. Looking for the sacrifice. Because sometimes we're convinced to sacrifice things that Okay. I almost flipped the card over, but I didn't. We're being told to sacrifice water. And look. So just like we had the morphic pond, which could be either water or dark. You remember the morphic pond? Underwater is the lower world. The waters of the lower world. Look at that. I'm taking both of them. And then I'll get these next two because I grabbed two. I might only read one. I don't know. We'll see. Bottom of the deck is the sun. When we're asking, like, what are we being told to say? Oh my gosh, we got a 5335. The card before the lower world is the medicine wheel. Because these are mirror numbers, this is again giving me the energy of like something that's almost a blessing in disguise. Because the goat is getting us out of Talaria, where that sundering is about to happen. And then behind the medicine wheel is the upper world and the journey. Cool. Look at that mirror. And then the smoky mirror. As I'm talking about the mirror, the smoky mirror is behind the sun. So yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's like it doesn't necessarily come across as it is. It's easy to misconceive. Cool. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna get hungry. I just got a notification, Venus and Pisces, on that one app that I have because Time Now Nomad isn't available on Android. So we're told to sacrifice water. Oh my gosh, I literally had this dream. I had this dream. I remember this dream. I think I've referenced this dream recently. I had a dream. Speaking of shady Hierophant energies, I had this dream when I was very, very, very early on in my looking outside of me part of my journey. So at the time I had this dream, there was only one person that could represent the entirety of what this could be. Um, but I had a dream that I went to a thing and there was a person there that everyone holds in high regard. And there was something about that person that was like off to me. And my like GTFO danger senses were going off. So I'm trying to find an opportunity to leave. And then they come up to the table and they're like, "Oh, happy birthday. It's your birthday, isn't it?" I'm like, "No, it is not my birthday. I don't know who told you it's my birthday. They lied to you. I don't eat this cake." But again, I'm trying not to throw out any like red flags or whatever. I'm trying to look like I'm complacent. And then I'm like, "Oh, like I need to go outside and get some air." And I booked it like that. I was like, "I'm getting out of here. I'm running." I see my dad across the street. He's like, "Oh, I came for the thing." And I was like, "Where did you park? It's time to go." And then he was looking back because he was like facing me and I was facing him. And he was like, "Why are those people running out of the building behind you?" Again, I had left, but it's one of those things in a dream where like he asked the question and I could see in my mind's eye in the dream what happened. What happened was everybody got into some kind of pool and they were like freed of their shadows or whatever. So everyone's like happy and they're celebrating and they're like, "Oh, like we feel so much better. We feel so much lighter." But when they sacrifice their shadows, like deeper, darker shadows started like chasing them. And they didn't have their own shadow there to protect them from the darker shadows like attaching to them. And that's why they were running. And I was like, he parked at the top of a parking garage, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. I gotta go." But it's almost that energy. Like that Hierophant lady convinced those people to get rid of their shadows in whatever magical water type of way, only for darker, deeper shadows to like attach to them. And without their own shadow, there was nothing to prevent that attachment from happening. And I'm like, girl, I'm just glad I left when I did. She's like, oh, isn't it your birthday? I'm like, no, it's not. I like cake, but not that much. You thought you could buy me with cake? No. Mm-mm. 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 That dream did come to my mind recently for obvious reasons. If you know, you know. But I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't trade my shadow because I'd be vulnerable. Like, oof. Anyway. But that's what like this is kind of giving me. And because it's sacrificing the waters of the lower world, it's making me think about dream. Should we look at what it is that we're really sacrificing now, or should we wait? Does it matter? I can reveal the second card. It's fine. We'll wait till the end because that's what I said we do. So the next card is Alora, Merry Thief. This is a legendary halfling rogue. We have a rogue that's like a water rogue and not like a dark rogue like Savannah, if it matters. Whenever you attack, up to one target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, look. She's got her lockpicking tools, but there's a little pigeon that's sitting there. Remember all the ravens? I don't know what that. It almost looks like a sparrow, like a black sparrow. Oh, but look, then there's the other one taking flight. So we have the warding of Miram. We have this can't be blocked of Alora. But, and it says whenever you attack. So if you get double strike, does that count as 2 attacks? She's not a dragon, so it doesn't matter, but still. That creature gets returned to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it gets one more like round of action before it gets returned. Now, if it's a high cost card, I got the Sundering in my mind because it returns all land to the owner's hand. Where are you going, Alora? She just chilling. Let's see if we get a background. We didn't. We have Irenicus's Vile Duplication. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. You will serve me better in this form. John Irenicus. Oof. That you will serve me better in this form is real interesting. So with how I laid the cards out, there are 6 across. So Irenicus's Vile Duplication comes out under Merkel's Edict, and Alora the Merry Thief is under the Goat. My question is like, why does she have a lockpick? Oh, okay. I was like, why does she have a lockpick for this window? Like, isn't that for doors? But also, like, the window is open, so maybe she just picked the window. But windows don't lock on the outside, so like if this window locks on the outside, it's almost how would the person inside even lock it? Unless the birds are responsible for locking the window. And there wasn't howl in the upper world. I mean, this does look like especially because birds are roosting here, it is looking a little upper worldy. And there was a bird in that upper world card behind the medicine wheel. I don't like how this vile duplication alters the form. And it alters the form of the individual to better suit the purposes of the person that's altering their form. This booster pack is like some real foul stuff is going down on down there. Haha, lol. You wouldn't believe. Now there's this, I guess the benefit of see, but it almost makes them like dragons. Because Miram, the sentinel worm, it duplicates any dragon, any non-token dragon that enters the battlefield under your control. And then with Irenicus's vile duplication, it can copy any creature, but the copy has flying. So it's almost like Irenicus tries to make them into dragons by giving them the ability to fly. But again, the flying doesn't suit the needs of the creature, it suits the needs of John Irenicus. You will serve me better in this form. This is some real drinking the Kool-Aid type. Now, this is also water. Let's see. The next card is Rosa Rael, Kingpin, who is water and dark. Oof. So now we have a human rogue that has death touch. When this Rosa Rael, Kingpin, enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gains death touch until end of turn. If you've completed a dungeon, that creature also gets +5 power and gains first strike and menace until end of turn. First strike lets them attack before the blocking creature can block. Menace means that they can only be blocked by two or more, well, by two creatures. So someone can't block by themselves. I love how we almost have this duality of like Alora the Merry Thief, who's given me maybe a little, and she came out under the goat, so maybe she's mischievous. Maybe she steals from the rich to give to the poor. The halfling rogue is like this, oh, but this human rogue, this kingpin, she's a savage. Okay. She got death touch and everything. See, she's also water, but she has that dark aspect. Oof. Well, I guess if you made a copy of Rosa Rael, she wouldn't be legendary because it can't copy legendary status. Legendary status cannot be duplicated. Okay. But you can give Rosa wings, and a Rosa with wings is legendary enough on its own. We're going to see what Death Touch does. Death Touch. Death Touch. So it causes any amount of damage dealt by the source to a creature to be lethal damage. Wow. So it don't even matter. Death Touch is a static ability. A creature with toughness greater than 0 that's been dealt damage by a source with Death Touch since the last time state-based actions were checked is destroyed as a state-based action. Any non-zero amount of combat damage assigned to a creature by a source with death touch is considered to be lethal damage. So not only do they get death touch, they also get first strike. Hold up, wait. Do they get death touch or no? Yeah, they do. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gains death touch until end of turn. If you've completed a dungeon, the only dungeon that we've seen so far is the Underdark, and we saw the waters of the Underdark. This is literally under Morphic Pond. So Morphic Pond can give water or dark, and she has both. But no one knows how deep the waters beneath Undercity go. Undercity is a dungeon, and it was completed by Mazzy at the very least the last time we looked at this. Death touch and first strike is insane. Well, I guess with death touch, so I guess the thing is, first strike makes it almost invincible, but because death touch just makes the damage lethal, but you can still, like, it could be one of those mutual, like, we destroyed each other in battle. But with first strike, if they don't also have first strike, there's just like they're gone. There's and menace, first strike and menace. So with menace, if it's blocked by two creatures, I think only one creature would be attacked, though. I don't know if death touch would kill both of them. If it does, that would be crazy. So it can't. That would break the rules of the game. Right? And she gets the initiative. She gets the initiative. She grants creatures first strike. She has death touch. You could look at her. So, like, it's very likely that she's not going to be the most powerful person on your field. So even if somebody rolled a 20 on Merkel's Edict, you wouldn't have to choose her. But she has death touch. So she's essentially the most powerful because her power scales infinitely. Her power scales based upon the toughness of the opponent that she's fighting and anyone that her blessing extends to. This is crazy. Anyway, what's next? Next, we have Marut. Oh, y'all know how I was like, this 6/6 is probably the highest I've ever seen. Like, no doubt. If someone rolls a 20, that thing is being sacrificed because its power is so. And then Marut literally came under this card. That's hilarious. So under Miriam, the Sentinel Worm, it's a card that's even stronger and tougher. It's a construct artifact creature that has trample. When Marut enters the battlefield, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, create a treasure token for each mana from a treasure spent to cast it. So you can sacrifice this artifact and add 1 mana of any color. It costs 8 mana to summon, but it has 7 toughness and power. Can you death touch a construct? I mean, I'm sure in the rules of the game you can. But, like, constructs aren't living. At least in the same way. So would death touch work? And it has trample. I think trample is like any leftover damage from the attack is dealt to the player, dealt to the one that controls it. Now this construct is non-aspected. It's just pure mana. Because it's non-aspected, it's almost giving me like, whoever controls it type energy. And I wonder if you sacrifice it because you have to, if you would still get that mana. Add 1 mana of any color. And it says of any color, so it can literally go anyway. Next, we have Chain Devil, which is a devil creature. I think this is the first devil creature that we've seen. We've seen humans, we've seen dragons, halflings, elves. Animate chains. When Chain Devil enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. There's more sacrifice, but every player has to do it, including the one that summons it. To these things, there's no symphony more beautiful than the melodies of rattling chains and ripping flesh. This comes out under the Flaming Fist background. Oof. There's so much sacrifice here. I mean, that may be a key trait afforded to a lot of the like dark ones. It said that Death Touch is a trait found. Usually, it was split between like the dark and the earth, the black and the green. But it seems that I was reading it more and more lately. It's like a secondary trait to green, and still more common in black. So sacrifice and Death Touch. I wonder if this is almost those like, because in the dream I had again, it's like people sacrificed their shadows and it made them vulnerable to like deeper, darker shadows. I wonder if this isn't almost that deeper, darker shadow energy. Like it made them vulnerable to demons because Hierophant Lady had convinced them to purge themselves of their shadows. That dream is probably another reason why I'm like, when it came to certain things, I'm like, I'm good. Because it was wild. I'm just like, I don't want to be here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. And then my dad shows up. And then, like, I'm pretty sure he just like disappeared in the dream. I don't know where he went. But he was like, "Oh, I parked at the top of this parking garage." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, now I gotta run." I'm running. I don't run for anything, but in that dream, I was running. I was like, "Get me out of here!" Next, we have okay. Come through Hermit Energy, Lantern of Revealing. So you can tap this artifact to add 1 mana of any color. For 4 mana, you can look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, you may put it on the bottom of your library. There's something about this blue light. I wonder if that's almost because of the Sentinel Worm and the obvious divine nature of the Sentinel Worm. The Hermit reveals that the light of the Hierophant can't reveal. So yeah, that's giving me the light of the spark of the divine within the Hermit. And it's almost like a ghost puppy. I don't know, almost. It's almost giving me Max Skellington's ghost puppy dog thing. Is this Lantern of Revealing gonna combat all this craziness? I feel like I don't know anything about Allura the Merry Thief. I don't know if Allura is just like wrong time, wrong place. Because I guess we do see her breaking into some place, and then we see Irenicus's vile duplication. So it's possible that within the story of this booster pack, someone that Allura cares about has been taken into John Irenicus's care. And maybe or she just like, she knows that something's going on. So she's breaking in to see the truth. John Irenicus is performing some vile experiments, duplicating people, trying to give them wings. But the wings, again, the wings that John Irenicus gives people, it suits John's purposes. It's not for them. It's not for their ascension. It's not for their betterment. It's so that John can do whatever shady, weird stuff John is doing. And then we see Miss Death Touch Rogue come in, like, oh, oof, Alora, no. Or unless Alora becomes the next victim. Now, Marut is powerful, but again, it costs a lot of mana to activate. And also because, I mean, Death Touch is still gonna, can you kill a spirit? I wonder if Miram would be immune. Because Miram is like the spirit of this dragon worm. It feels like a spirit dragon, like an incorporeal dragon. So I don't know if it can be killed, but because it grants double strike, it doesn't matter if the opponent has first strike. Because with double strike, it would strike both times, but the opponent would only strike once. So it's like trying to sneak a hit in on the dragon and then get pow pow. You know, you thought you was quick, but the dragon done landed 2 blows. Anyway. So what is this Death Touch for? I mean, it's going to work on Alora. It feels like, again, according to the rules of the card game, it would probably work. But a construct isn't alive to be death touched. And a spirit isn't corporeal to be touched and death touch. And maybe that's why all this sacrifice is there. Because these can be sacrificed, but they can't be beaten by death touch. So maybe that's all this like forced sacrifice. And again, it's like there are certain things that can't be taken, they can't be stolen, but they can be forfeited. We can be convinced to give them away. So we can forsake our own protections, or we can forsake our own divinity by whatever edict or law or rule or whatever that whoever, whatever's. And then when we like forego those things, we can be made vulnerable. And we may find ourselves being one of Irenicus's experiments. Next card is the Armor of Shadows. Until end of turn, target creature gets +1 power and gains indestructible. Damage and effects that say destroy don't destroy. What about death? I guess indestructible is different. It can't be destroyed. What's softer than silk, stronger than steel, and quieter than thought? A warlock riddle. And apparently it's this Armor of Shadows. See, I love that this is Armor of Shadows. I love that this is Armor of Shadows because it's our shadow. In the dream, it was our shadow that kept us from being vulnerable to these deeper darknesses, these deeper, darker shadows. But people were convinced to like purge their shadows and whatever that water was. But the Armor of Shadows, again, it's like it protects against, it makes you invulnerable. Almost going back to the poles, right? Like, let's say it was this one, where it's like there are 2 poles and there's something that meets them. So the circuits are closed, so electricity can flow and it's powered up as soon as you put it in the game. It's almost like if you have your pole there, then you are it's between you and the divine. But as soon as you sacrifice or vacate one of your poles, it leaves you open for anything to come in and like complete that circuit. And now you're running with their resistances, however their circuit is wired, whatever they want to do. Our construct, at the very least, is indestructible. Maybe because, like, maybe it also makes spirits indestructible. I feel like the spirit would already be, but it's in my mind, it's one of those like, if you do something to a spirit and it like dissipates, and then over some period of time, it like maybe comes back together. Yeah, you can destroy someone's spirits, figuratively, right? So it can make the spirit indestructible. This armor is indestructible. But the shadow was also given by the divine, just as light was. The shadow is a part of our whole creation, of our whole being, that is wholly divinely created. It's only when we start, lopping off, chopping off, and then going to see Dr. John Irenicus, where he can affix all kinds of things that it's like, okay, bro, maybe you had free will, but use John's now. And he will fix you a form that better suits his purposes. The next card is the Moss Diamond. Moss Diamond enters the battlefield tapped. So now we get in some earth mana. We saw the Fire Diamond that powered up those kobolds. I think there's only one thing on the table that has earth on it. And it is Mira, the Sentinel Worm. Nothing else specifies earth, but of course that mana can be used for anything. It's interesting because even it was at the bottom of the deck. That Jade Dragon Jewel thing, it was at the bottom when Undercity was at the bottom. The Jade Orb of Dragonkind. And this Moss Diamond, I don't know. But this is also like Earth. And Earth is also, it benefits from the light and the shadow. In the daytime, you get your photosynthetic cycles, and in the nighttime, you get your Calvin cycles, right? Don't ask me what the difference is. I think in the daytime, you get everything built to create sugars. So you get all your molecules, your NADPHs, and stuff like that. And then at nighttime, in the Calvin cycles is when the plants actually assemble those into sugar. So it takes it creates a 6-carbon ring from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and it uses NADPH and the other one to like fix them all together. Now that's the sacrifice that's like it builds. So in order to create those molecular bonds, there's an exchange that has to happen. So an NADPH is going to sacrifice a hydrogen, and then it leaves as an NADP. But the hydrogen that it sacrificed is used in the formulation of that sugar molecule, which the plant then like feeds itself with, right? And it also releases oxygen at some point. It uses carbon dioxide. CO2, because it's what? C6H12O6. So you get your CO2 and you get your H from NADPH to give you that. Well, you got to have 2 of them. I don't know, girl. It's been a minute. And it doesn't matter. The specifics don't matter. There are the light cycles and the dark cycles. And both is necessary for Earth to be thriving, right? Like imagine the desert if it never had the coolness of the night. It would just be hot 24/7. Now on the Arctic poles, maybe the summers are somehow warmer. to sustain those ecosystems, or maybe things just thrive under the ice if there's anything in the permafrost. Anyway, so now we have Gut or Goot, the true soul zealot. This is a legendary goblin shaman. Whenever you attack, you may sacrifice another creature or an artifact. If you do, create a 4-power, 1 toughness black skeleton creature token with menace that's tapped and attacking. Oof. So whenever you attack, you can sacrifice. See, but this sacrificing a creature to create another creature, that is almost reading like transmogrification to me. You can turn it into a black skeleton creature, but it has menace. So things that are menacing, they require 2 opponents to block them. There's only 1 background on the table so far. Usually there's at least like 2, if not 3. True soul zealot. The soul in this is, that's some like, it's almost giving me what's his name from JJK. That like if he touched your soul, he could. Well, his thing was like, does the soul conform to the body, or does the body conform to the soul? And it was his belief that it's the soul that does whatever. And so he would manipulate the soul in ways that would change the body. He wasn't deaf, was he? Was his name Makoto? I don't even remember what his name. Mojito, Mint Mojito, JJK, Mahito, Mahito. We all up on the wikis, alias Patchface. He was a cursed spirit. So, what was he? Thanks to the hate spewed between people, I was born. I'm trying to see what he was the incarnation of. He believes he was born from human transgressions and considers himself the very manifestation of humans' hatred of each other. As such, he believes that humans should be extinguished and cursed spirits should rule in their place. He has no sympathy for human lives and appears to place little value on even his own life. Okay. So he's born out of the hatred that humans carry for each other. The guy who makes me think of this. I wonder what. I guess now there's a question of what we willingly and unwittingly, both willingly and or unwittingly. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. But what we willingly and or unwittingly sacrifice within ourselves due to the feelings of like, I want to say like petty emotions and jealousies of others. I mean, I guess you could say that when we choose envy, we sacrifice our own happiness, at the very least. And because this is a true soul zealot, though, like this should be the territory that is protected. This should be like that unreplicable territory, like the territory of the divine. But this true soul zealot, and it's like I love that it's gut, because sometimes like that's where we feel those feelings, or sometimes that's where some feelings can live. And also because they live in the gut, they affect the nutrients that we're able to extract from food, the nutrients that we're able to extract from that which has the potential to nourish us or not. It's literally at the center of our nourishment. But it's almost like gut would be able to, it's like some of those petty human emotions create channels that lead deeper because they can be the result of something so fundamentally broken within us. They go deep. And it's almost like it can take those channels and like widen them, or use those channels as a, a port of administration of things that will alter us. This is like that double energy that came out not too long ago, but it was when I was like, double energy can't force us to do anything that we don't already want to do. It can create a circumstance, a situation, or amplify desires to the point where we do something, but it can't make us do anything that we won't do. It doesn't have that power. Now, if you don't like somebody, double energy can make sure that you hear or see them doing whatever, and you being exposed to them in that one specific way may amplify things within you to the point that now you are doing something that you thought you'd never do. Devil energy is the opportunity that creates thieves. It's the power that corrupts, but it is not the creator of corrupt. Well, it's not the creator of thieves or the source of corruption in that way. Like devil energy is the one who gives the alcoholic free drinks, but it doesn't force anything down their throat, in that metaphor. It's the desire of the person to drink. Devil energy like provides ammunition. And then when it provides ammunition and can generate certain circumstances. But again, it's up to us to actually do whatever we're doing. And if there is something within us that is louder or purer, then we would never. Like, that's the person that could be like, even if I'm upset, or even if this is happening, or even if that's happening, I would never still do this. But gut will get in there and twist things, and then we become pawns basically against one another. If this is Mahito's energy. Oof. 2 cards left. Next, we have an island. Yeah, an island. Or is it you're an island? I'm an island. You're an ocean. You're an ocean. You're an ocean. Settle down, settle down. What's the commotion? Is this holographic? It is. We have this shiny island. I love that it's shiny because it almost gives the sunrise, sunset a little bit of depth or dimension. A little bit. We see an island unlike the one that we saw the last time. You're about to disembark to find the harbor master when you spot a merfolk darting. When you spot a merfolk darting underneath your ship. The merfolk darting underneath your ship is interesting because there was the Three of Wands in the Dali Tarot. There was the ship that had departed, and then there was the mer person at the shore. And it's like, is this a helpful mermaid or is this a siren that's just trying to drown me? Your intuition and discernment is key. You're about to disembark to find the harbor master when you spot a merfolk darting underneath your ship. And then the last card is this ancient bronze dragon. We get a copy. Miriam, the sentinel dragon, would make a copy of this ancient bronze dragon. Oh my gosh. This ancient bronze dragon is breaking the game in terms of strength, constitution, and charisma. Breaking the game is anything above 20. It has 29 strength, 27 constitution, and 21 charisma. I wouldn't necessarily expect a dragon to be so charismatic. Gargantuan dragon, challenge number 22. Oh, challenge. It has an armor class of 22. It has 444 hit points. It has a walking speed of 40 feet, a flying speed of 80 feet, and a swimming speed of 40 feet. Its attacks are bite, claw, tail, frightful presence, lightning breath, repulsion breath, and change shape. This ancient bronze dragon can change shape. You see that? Which is interesting because, again, there was the tower and that King of Pentacles, and I was like, and then I mentioned it recently. I don't know. Oh, because of Raphael. That's why I mentioned it. Because I had that feeling. I was like, it feels like the dragon is the King of Pentacles. And then there was Raphael. And I was like, maybe Raphael's like Dragonkin. Oop, now Raphael's on the table under shadow armor. You see that? 22 armor class, 444 hit points. There you go. Look at those stats. Oh my gosh. And it's wise. It's pretty wise. What's interesting too is the Queen of Earth. I rolled the wisdom threshold and her number was 17. And I was like, and then I rolled a 1 and then I rolled like a 4. That was in the reading where I talked about perception and intuition, or wisdom and perception, and then intuition. So is this ancient bronze dragon also that Queen of Earth? Dragons are coming out as King and Queen of Earth energy, apparently. Because that's the same, and it's wisdom. Wisdom is the stat that affects perception. I was looking for perception. She rolled a perception of 17, which is the exact same number. And it has change shape. Now, if that was in the Dreams of Gaia tarot, it would probably be more convincing because the dragon human lines are blurred. But Runic Tarot said it. Okay. This was whatever this was. I guess this would also be like another preemptor, maybe, of why it's so important to like be tapped into the truth of you and to find out, who you are in the image of the divine, or in the spark, the piece and fragment of the divine that you are. And to not be so quick to take on the wings of someone else, I guess, because who knows what they have planned for you, But this lantern of revealing, and I love that it came out under the chain devil too, because it'll reveal them. And then we have the armor of shadows, which is again, oh, I focused. I'm in focus now. Which is again, in that dream in particular, it was those who gave away their shadows, who purged their shadows because they were convinced by Miss Hierophant Lady that left them vulnerable and susceptible. And it wouldn't be as big of an oof if the flavor text for Chain Devil didn't literally say, "To these fiends, there's no symphony more beautiful than the melodies of rattling chains and ripping flesh." So, what are we sacrificing? So, we know that we're sacrificing the waters of the lower world. Is there some water that's flowing through here? Maybe not. Well, I guess we did just talk about it. Was that on this channel or the other channel? I think it was on this one. It doesn't matter. And the oh snap! I gotta return those books at some point. In the mythologies book, there was an entry that talked about souls, and there's the water of forgetfulness, the waters of the Acheron, I think. Lethe. It was the Lethe, Lithe, are the waters of forgetfulness, but then there's also the waters of remembrance. Now, the waters of remembrance didn't have a name. That river didn't have a name. River, oh, Lethe. Sorry. One of the five rivers of the underworld, also known, okay, the river of unmindfulness. Yeah. Now we have that, but then we have this lantern of revealing when it comes to like, remember who you are. Only the divine can do that. Okay, well, I'm not going to say that there aren't people out there that can hierophant your hermit to your deeper recesses and sacred enclaves, because there's more people out there than I know, and I'm not going to say that it's not somebody's gift. But I will say, use your intuition and discernment and be careful, because the transmogrification is real. It's really real. It's like really, 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 really real, to the point where folks can take on stuff that is not them, that will have them in all kinds of positions and seeking all kinds of things or doing all kind of stuff. And again, it fits the purposes of whoever's doing the whatever for whatever reason, under whatever's influence or whatever. It's not my thing, I'll say that. Because when we start to get to those like areas like that, that's when the ivory shield and the SKT, if I'm using the SKT especially, that's when she'll pop up. Like, you don't go any further. Anything beyond them, anything beyond this point is between them and the divine. And I've got to respect it. Or I'll get a title card or a high priestess, or I'll just get that vibe that's like, whatever's beyond this point is not for me to venture with you through. It's for you. There's some real you stuff, and I'm not going to be responsible for any of that. So, anyway, so the second card is the serpent. The first card is the standstill, number 52. The standstill and the serpent. I pulled two cards just in case. It was just 244. I pulled two cards just in case because I ended up pulling two cards before. So we sacrifice water, but it's really the standstill. The standstill is this place where, like, we stand or sit ready to receive. It's almost like that's one of those places that's really close to the divine. And we do see the same sunset energy as the islands. You're about to disembark to find the harbor master when you spot a merfolk darting underneath your ship. It's that same sunset type. I'm pretty sure the rare gazelle did a reading recently with sunsetty colors, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Now, the serpent, maybe that's why I brought it up. The serpent is a very important medicine. It's one of the creatures on this medicine wheel. I might say it's the one associated with this black, and black might be like death. It's like south. Maybe not. No, because I think it's the east, the west. East is the sunrise, west is the sunset. But it's like this serpent is a very important medicine. It's part of a balanced diet. And that's, again, it's part of what we would be sacrificing. That's the reality of what we would be sacrificing. Whatever comes from the serpent, behind that was the upper world. Or behind the medicine wheel was the upper world. One of the 4 things that we need to really get into that upper world, we would be convinced to sacrifice under the guise of, well, it's the waters of the lower world and you don't need it. Again, on this card, the serpent is the southmost animal. Extends beyond the wheel, actually. But it can be one of those places that hides and harbors much of those things that we wish not see or wish not be. But again, we are created wholly and entirely by the divine. And without, see, that serpent, having that serpent would be like the armor of shadows. But once we lose that serpent, once we're convinced to sacrifice it, once we discard our own shadow and make ourselves vulnerable, that's also these pathways that Gut, the true soul zealot, uses to transmogrify us into these black skeletons that go out and projectile trauma, projectile everything onto other people. Where we become our narcissists, or we become our abusers, we become that one partner that I didn't like, or this way that my parent did this, or whatever. Like, we turn into that to someone else in someone else's story. This moss diamond really is like, I mean, I guess, again, the only thing that's earth on the table. I mean, mana can be used for anything. But the only thing that necessitates earth on the table is Miram, the sentinel worm. But that came out so late. Miram is the 4th card from the top. This moss diamond is the 4th card from the bottom. 3 cards before Miram, 3 cards after the moss diamond. Now, what's interesting as well about Miram is the only dragon that we see in this booster pack. It's not like a creature, it's like a boss. Like this, it's a gargantuan. This is the only other dragon that we see. Can Miram create a token clone of it? Can Miram replicate it? Probably. Well, it specifies dragons that enter the battlefield under your control. So in order for this ancient bronze dragon to be duplicated by Miram, you would have to be in control of it. I would say that it's probably pretty close to impossible to control this ancient bronze dragon if we can't even control the serpent. And that's what we're convinced to sacrifice. It's almost like if you can sacrifice the serpent, then you never have to worry about the dragon. It's like one of those sci-fi typically things where they're like, oh, we're going to go back into the past and take care of this person before they ever become a problem. It's like when the Terminator went back in time to terminate whoever the Terminator was terminating so that Skynet could have no resistance in the future. And this standstill, it is probably an energy that's very similar to goat. Standstill is one of those energies that we probably as people don't like to see, or at least en masse, as in general. Typically, we don't like to be told to wait, be patient, it's happening, just trust, have faith, believe, like we want what we want when we want it. And so it's someone's like, you have to sacrifice the standstill, you have to sacrifice this goat, that's a nuisance. We're probably like, oh yeah, take it. You'd be doing me a favor. Now I'll know where my keys are. I'll never lose a boot, and you'll be in Talaria when the sundering happens. That part wasn't necessary, but it's the goat that gets you out of Talaria. It's those sometimes like, why would the divine do this? Or it's those things that we only see as annoyances because we don't know what could have happened or what would have happened. If that rejection didn't happen, if we didn't get out of Dodge, if we was right by the levee when the Chevy drove down to it. Is that how I want to say it? I don't know. If we would have been there for the flood, we would have been swept up in the waves. Sometimes that thing that we don't know why it happened or we wish it didn't happen, that's the very thing that kept us from being caught up in a whole bunch of stuff. We could have been on John Irenicus's table. We could have been one of those experiments, warped to fit his purposes. Oof. I already put these all together. Who didn't I look at? I don't know. But yeah, it takes a lot of mana to power that. Maybe that's another thing too. Because just like the Miram has immunity to death, just like Miram feels like it has immunity to death touch, that construct has an immunity to death touch, but it takes a lot of mana to power that construct. And so again, it's almost about depleting internal resources. We work against ourselves, fight against ourselves, sacrifice this part of ourselves or that part of ourselves, all for the purpose of better suiting the form and purposes of someone else. And it's all presented in a way where it's like they don't care about you. Because gut will turn you into a black skeleton in a second. Or how do you sacrifice to create a black skeleton? I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. A little rough today. A little oof. I'm like slowly building up these cards. I got 3 booster packs in here now. I didn't get an art card. Well, I guess we got the Ancient Bronze Dragon instead of art. Okay. I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. Ouch. There went the sun. Do do do. Under the smoky mirror is Pachamama. It's all about highlighting. It's all about illuminating. It's all about seeing the truth. And it's interesting that again, it's like literally the serpent. Sacrifice the waters for the lower realm. The serpent was there at the beginning, at the fall of Eden. And again, it's just, I don't know, serpent energy is coming out real interesting lately, especially after it was right next to the scorpion. And it's like, is it easier to believe that we got bit by a one-fanged snake than it is that we got stung by the scorpion? Maybe. I don't know. There's Coyote. And wasn't Eve low-key better off without Adam? Adam was like real quick to be like, oh, it was Eve. It was Eve. And then hypothetically, God was like, okay, but I didn't tell Eve not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I told you. So I don't care what Eve was doing. Anyway. Find me a man who will take accountability now in this day and age and won't still try to scapegoat and blame somebody else. Have the children of Adam learned nothing? No, they never do. History repeats itself over and over. It's fine. We learn eventually. Right? Cool. Is that thunder again? Yep. The Beauty Way and Thunder. 456. Oh my gosh, 456. Look at that. Bottom of the deck is the arrow. 3, 4, 5, 6. What's 3, 4, 5, 6? Well, 4 and 5 is a 9. 3 and 6 is a 9. So that's 18, which is 9. 3, 4, 5, 6. This makes me think of Thunder when it last came out as being the realm of the divine. Because the Rainmaker came out and Thunder was at the bottom of the deck. And it was like the Rainmaker can call rain, but the Rainmaker doesn't produce thunder or lightning. That's whatever is up in the heavens. It's like there's always a certain amount of water vapor in the air. So to condense water vapor to condense is a lot more doable than like the lightning and the thunder and the storm. Water vapor is like almost always there, right? We call it humidity. And in most places, it's not zero. In a lot of places, it's not zero. But the Beauty Way, I don't know. It's almost giving me the above. It's almost like there's a pearl in between those two. Could be a moon. I don't know. But it's giving me pearl energy today. And then there's the no mud, no lotus, right? And then there's this dragonfly that's coming out. Dragonfly to me is like ancient knowing and stuff like that. Probably just got floating boba skin in there. But it's like no mud, no lotus. The one that didn't sacrifice that. And because it wasn't sacrificed, there is some thing about the upper world that is presented to them. Like the dragonfly emerges from this lotus, I'm assuming, from this flower, just like the arrow shoots up into the sky. They have the same directionality. And it's not for anything that was sacrificed. Lotus has its stand. Oh, look, is that a little pearl? Maybe not. Lotus has its standstill, just like the dragonfly has its standstill. So cool. Yeah. Now let's see. I should just get some Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering cards. Use the Dungeons and Dragons tarot and put them all together. I want a card, please. Like 2. 1 to 2. 3 at the most. 4 is way too much. It's getting, heftier and heftier. I might only have like 1 booster pack left if I even have that unopened. We have our Flaming Fist Officer with Rilsa Rael, the Kingpin. Get the remaining citizens to safety. These miscreants have an appointment with my spear. Ooh, girl. I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one. Because the Flaming Fist Officer has a spear, it's possible that the Flaming Fist Officer can chip away, because Rosa is much tougher than this Flaming Fist Officer is powerful. But it's possible that the Flaming Fist Officer could like chip away at Rosa, but like 1 touch in this Flaming Fist Officer. This Flaming Fist Officer would be dead even if Rosa didn't have Death Touch, because Rosa is tough enough to survive an encounter and strong enough to take out the Flaming Fist Officer. But Rosa's also a rogue, so that gives Rosa a certain element of dexterity and acrobatics that she could probably easily get around a spear. Bottom of the deck is Mazzy, the True Sword Paladin. Whenever an enchanted creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Whenever an aura you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, exile it. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast that card. Now, these two together, if they could both land a hit on Rosa in the same turn, they could take her out. But Rosa has Death Touch. I don't think either one of these foil Death Touch. The only thing I could imagine that Mazzy has would be some kind of aura. Some kind of aura that protects her. Some kind of aura that we haven't seen. I don't think I've seen any aura cards, actually. But anyway, some kind of aura that would protect her from Death Touch. And make her more powerful. Well, she's not going to... Without Death Touch, she would survive. But Mazzy is also the one who's gotten close, who's at the very least gone through 1 round at the command tower. If there's any card that we've seen that has approached that spire, the spire where time doesn't exist, and that has brushed up with her divinity, it would be Mazzy. So this is almost like a hold the line type of energy. Hold the line, hold the faith. The one that can do it is assisting. And Rilsa and her shady organization or whatever will be taken down. Unless one of Avernicus's file duplicates pop up, because they can fly. But the Flaming Fist Officer has a spear. I think the spear would be able to manage against the flying opponent. This is the oof. Is there anyone that can beat Rosa Rael? Well, yeah, I guess we saw him. The construct that costs a lot of mana to power. And the ancient dragon spirit, Miram the Sentinel Worm. The construct, because it's not alive to be death touched, and Miram because it's not corporeal enough to be touched by death touch. Unless you exile Rilsa. Or unless Rilsa becomes sacrificed. And the bad guys, they'll do it. The bad guys. They sacrifice their own all the time. But I don't know. Who's to say that there isn't a clone of Rilsa with wings? Anyway, I don't know what. Well, I don't know how this resonates for anybody else. Let's say that. Are we still in that time of? I mean, I would imagine. Let's see. If Google says heads, yes. If Google says tails, no. And if Google says tails, then big oof. Hey, Google, flip a coin. Flip a coin, please.
It's tails.
Oh, big oof, big oof, big oof. Oh, big oof, big oof. So, I hope you have an amazing whatever. Whenever you see this, I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey, what you find. Besides that, I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like I'm not like veteran enough to actually know how things used to be. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't know. Like the voice of the divine, I feel like it's something that's always sort of like been around. And if the voice of the divine tells me not to do something, I don't do it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that may be helpful and beneficial to other people, but it's not for me. And I don't contradict that voice. Um, so I don't necessarily know personally what it would be like to forsake one's own truth in favor for another. Like there are people in my life who I respect, and there's like one person that one person that immediately stands out in my mind in terms of a mentor. But like there are things that I appreciate about people, but I've never idolized somebody. Like I've never wanted to be anybody else. And again, like that's not to say that I don't appreciate like anyone who's an artist, I have an appreciation for. To be able to see something in your mind and then create it, like in real life, mad appreciation for. Would I say I like envy them or would I want to emulate them? I don't know. Like it just again, it hasn't been my path. Like when I had that dream, I was like, I need a GTFO. I don't know what's going on in here with this lady. I know it's not for me. And I'm not interested in sticking around to find out. And so I guess I say all that to say, because like I don't, can I pull more cards on some other day? Maybe, but it's not, again, it's not a path I've taken. It's not a journey that I've had. So maybe I shouldn't even like speak on it. If I see it, maybe I'll just start ignoring it. But I see it. I see how it plays out, and every now and then I'll see it pop up where it's just like, but who am I to say what someone else's truth may or may not be? Now, when they start saying stuff, then it's like, okay, well, but again, to me, it's like because it's a voice that I've always listened to, even when I got into tarot. Like I was born and raised Christian. And tarot wasn't something that I was encouraged to do in the church. But when it came time for me to like get into it or to want to get into it, the voice of the divine clearly said to me, like, it's the cards and nothing else. like candles, crystals, this, that, it's not your vibe. You don't have this. It was beyond like you don't have to. It was like don't even like get into it. Now, when I got into my journey and when I started doing my internal delving and stuff, I discovered that like those are modalities that probably wouldn't work for me anyway because of how I'm wired and what my like mode of access or whatever is. Things are like mental, emotional, and spiritual for me. It's like the energy. I'm like in Patrick's world, if everything is vibration, I don't need a crystal. I don't need a candle. I don't need anything else. If I can find the vibration, then like what do I need the manifestation in the physical for? And so my modes became about like finding and seeking and tapping into, tuning into vibration. But again, that's me. I know that's not everybody. And thank goodness it isn't. You know what I mean? But it's just like, I don't, for the wave of people that have been like, you know, I got into this and then I was doing this and I was doing that. I don't know. I guess I just can't personally like, like I said, like that voice, that conversation has been a constant for me. I didn't stop hearing that voice or conversing with that voice after I got into tarot. And I didn't ever pedestal anyone else enough to go against what I know is for me because somebody else may have suggested something. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I guess, you know, my heart goes out to people who may have um, found parts of themselves at the very least, or who may have found themselves in something or in someone only to later discover that maybe it wasn't for them. I mean, it's easy to say it's all a part of the journey, but again, it's a journey that I'm not making, or at least thus far I haven't made. And so it's one that I don't like. It's one of those things that like there are some things that like if they come up, I'm like, I don't like I can read this for what it is, but speaking to it in a way of like moving beyond it, it's like I don't know. Because I've never been the type of, to my knowledge, I've never encouraged it either. So it's like, you know what? I don't know what I would do or say anyway. That's why it's like big oof, because it's like I see it happening. I understand that it's happening. Um, and I feel like there are people who that was a part of their journey, or people who may have found themselves in a situation like that in their journey, whatever that situation is, that would be better able to speak on it and coming out of it than I would be. So I don't know. I guess this is my not barter with you. This is my whatever with you and my what am I supposed to do to spirit if I'm like, you know, it's nothing that I can speak to. I don't know. I guess I can, but I guess at the end of the day, like as long as we make it back to self in whatever way, when we make it back to self, this is my belief. It is my belief that if we make it back to self, to the truth and authenticity of who we are, and then if we can sit in that standstill with the divine, all will be made right. Especially if we didn't transgress in any ways that are like extreme. You know what I mean? Because I guess that too, if we did that too, would be made right in whatever way. It's like that's between you and the divine. I wouldn't. I have no interest in knowing. I wouldn't know. I'm not. that curious. You know what I mean? I guess my curiosity extends to the point of like, oh, so it's like that for somebody else. Okay. Oh, that's a truth that is true for someone who isn't me. Cool. I'm going to keep doing my thing, you know? I don't know. Anyway, that's why I say I hope y'all acting in alignments make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope you an intuition and a discernment that will work with you. But I think too, sometimes there are things that we may call for that we may or may not be ready for. And then our readiness and our capacity to receive mixed with our um, potential, our actualization of potential for our potential for actualization. Basically, what we're gonna do, right? What either we'll do it or we won't do it. That mixed with like all of the other stuff will get us wherever we're going. So yeah, that sounds like big oof because I don't know. It just like it never like I don't know. It's not for me. It's not mine. So anyway, I'll catch y'all whenever I catch y'all. Bye.